This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you an exclusive interview with outgoing Indian envoy to Sri Lanka, Gopal Baglay, on India-Sri Lanka relations. The interviewer is Dr. Ahmed Faruqi, Akashvani correspondent.
The neighborhood first policy propounded by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sagar Outlook have made a lasting impact on the immediate neighborhood in general and Sri Lanka in particular. However, the strength of India-Sri Lanka relations has further gone beyond what has been before the last 3 years. Sir, thank you for speaking to us. Sir, to begin with, India-Sri Lanka relations, they have gone from strength to strength and have touched several new milestones. However, during your term here, there have been huge number of challenges, as well as on the other hand, we have had huge number of projects as well. Could you kindly elaborate on a few impactful ones?
Thank you very much, Dr. Faruqi, for speaking to me, and namaskar in India and abroad. You're very right. It's the neighborhood first policy and the doctrine of Sagar, which means security and growth for all in the region, which have really brought a new impact and added new dimensions to our relations with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an Indian Ocean country. It is situated in the Bay of Bengal. It's a member of BIMSTEC, and as such, our interactions with Sri Lanka are not only bilateral, but also important in the context of multilateralism and also growth and security in the region. So what happened in the last 3 years, which you referred to, is essentially the implementation in practice of the neighborhood first policy as well as the Sagar doctrine. How did it happen? You asked for a few examples which are impactful. See, at the end of the day, it is the people. In democracies, especially diverse democracies such as India and Sri Lanka, the people are at the center of the efforts. So when the people of Sri Lanka faced tremendous difficulties last year, and even before that in COVID, India came up with very, very effective and quick response. In COVID, you would recall that Sri Lanka's first consignment of COVID-19 vaccines was a gift from the people of India, which arrived as early as January 2021, and it allowed the government of Sri Lanka to roll out their own vaccination program ahead of what they had planned. So vaccine Maitri, under that, and supply of COVID related oxygen, medicines. I myself, when I arrived here in May 2020 during the height of COVID on a transport aircraft, I brought with myself, as was instructed by the leadership of the country and my seniors, I brought 12 tons of medicine consignment with me for the people of Sri Lanka. Moving onwards from there, the consequences of COVID for the Sri Lankan economy were very serious. And again, India touched another dimension of being the first responder. We did not wait for anyone else. India came up with assistance which totals around $4 billion. But the most important impact was on the daily life of the people. Fuel had run out, almost run out. There was shortage of foodstuff, medicine, essential items. So the line of credit extended by India and the fuel supplied from India became the lifeline. Similarly, the $1 billion credit line, which was extended through the State Bank of India, that provided for the import of essential items, medicine, foodstuff. And even now, it is being used after one more extension for medicine. This is the reason why all over Sri Lanka, and during your stay, you would have interacted with many people. There is a sense of not only gratitude towards India at the level of even common people, but I think a deeper trust and a deeper desire to work with India, which presents tremendous opportunity for growth. Moving to the other achievement in another area is increased connectivity. The flights between Chennai and Jaffna are doing very well. We were able to demonstrate the feasibility of a ferry service 2 months ago, and now we are about to undertake regular ferry services. So these are, of course, again, people-centric initiatives that have touched the life of common people. But one thing which is very important is because as a result of the crisis that happened, there was effort also from the IMF to assist, although it's not directly related to the life of the common people, but it is in a sense. And India not only helped Sri Lanka bilaterally, but strongly supported a package from IMF. Expeditious conclusion and approval. India advocated that support very, very strongly. And not only that, we were the first country to give written assurances that we will make Sri Lanka's debt, which Sri Lanka owes to India, sustainable for Sri Lanka. That was most important in IMF, deciding in the first place last year around March and April for the package of about $2.9 billion for Sri Lanka. Now, when Sri Lanka is engaged in debt restructuring with all its creditors, India, which is not a member of Paris Club, but for the welfare of Sri Lanka, we joined as a co-chair of the official creditors committee along with Japan and France. And few weeks ago, the OCC Secretariat, the Paris Club Secretariat, has made the announcement that Sri Lanka and OCC members, the official credit committee, they have reached an understanding of debt restructuring. Again, not being a Paris Club member, India is still participated in those discussions and actually led those discussions. So all these initiatives are in a sense one of their kind. The problems that Sri Lanka faced, our region faced, because stability in our neighborhood is very important for us also. Those challenges required innovative and creative approach, solutions, and under what you mentioned, the neighborhood first policy and Sagar doctrine, and very clear and decisive leadership, we were able to take those innovative decisions. And I think that this has not only benefited the people of Sri Lanka, but has benefited the region as a whole.
High Commissioner, you mentioned about connectivity. You cited a few examples that the flights between Jaffna and Chennai, as well as the ferry services which recently started. However, the recent developments have had connectivity in almost every facet. Even the recent joint vision declaration between India and Sri Lanka, which was brought out by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sri Lanka President Ranil Wickremesinghe, also mentioned connectivity as a central idea. How do you see this pan out in the future and in the months and years to come?
See, there are three bases of India-Sri Lanka connectivity. One is we have deep bonds of civilization. There is a common cultural context. Second is that our developmental aspirations are very similar because of the cultural connect, history, geography. Our aspirations for democracy and development are very similar of the people in both the countries. The third, now this is the metrics that we have. Connectivity can be the enabler to leverage these two pillars of strength, that is bonds of civilization and the aspirational connect. Connectivity can help us leverage it and enable the people of the two countries to grow together. And Sri Lanka can take advantage of the tremendous opportunities presented by India's growth. Now, in what manner? As you know, you mentioned the connectivity being the centerpiece of the vision document on which the two leaders agreed during the visit of the President of Sri Lanka to India in July this year. There are few main elements. One is the energy and power, geared towards not only ensuring Sri Lanka's energy security through supplies from India with the help of a pipeline, multi-product pipeline, but also building a power grid connection between India and Sri Lanka, which will allow Sri Lanka to have a regular and a fourth source of revenue and fourth source of foreign exchange. Currently, as you know, export, overseas remittances and tourism are the main earners of foreign exchange, and all these suffered in the consequences of COVID, and therefore that was an important factor why the crisis erupted last year. If Sri Lanka can develop quickly the enormous renewable energy resources it has, there is a World Bank study which says there is 56,000 megawatt of offshore wind potential around the northern arc of Sri Lanka from Mannar to Trincomalee. You can very well imagine it can export to the growing Indian market, but can also get connected to the BBIN. Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, as you know, now have electricity export to India, that the trade is happening, and Sri Lanka's connectivity with India will therefore help Sri Lanka in many ways. So this is one. The second is overland connectivity. We are very close, just about 25-30 nautical miles of water between the two countries. We can find a suitable alignment which will take care of all the interests on both the sides, and an overland connectivity will help not only bring the people closer, promote more pilgrimage and tourism on both sides, but also regional trade. It can actually link Sri Lanka to what has been propounded in the G20 summit, the India-Middle East connectivity corridor. So that will be a game changer. The third dimension is financial and digital connectivity. We are on the cusp of launching the UPI-based digital transactions, which in the first place will also help Indian tourists. And as you know, Indian tourists are the largest number of foreign tourists coming to Sri Lanka. INR has been allowed as a currency of trade transactions. So once we go to the digital level, then the opportunities are enormous. So I would say that these layers of various types of connectivity, there is political will on both sides. Now it is up to the governments to find a quick way to implement them. I must tell you that we have taken decisions to conduct joint studies for the pipeline. Technical discussions on the power grid are almost nearing completion, and very soon we should be discussing some framework related to the connectivity corridor between the two countries.
So truly speaking, building bridges has been one of the most important tasks of connectivity. However, this year we have also noticed that is a year full of milestones. We celebrated the 200 years of the first arrival of the Indian origin Tamils to Sri Lanka. It's also the year in which we celebrate, we observe the 75 years of establishment of diplomatic ties between India and Sri Lanka. How do you see India plan to commemorate all these milestones?
You're right, India and Sri Lanka have completed 75 years of their respective independence in the recent past, but also diplomatic relations, 75 years. Both countries in India, as we know, we are moving towards our Amrit Kal, 2047, 100 years, and this Amrit Kal will transform India. Similarly, the leadership of Sri Lanka has a vision to transform Sri Lanka into a developed country by 2048. That is another ground for us to collaborate very closely. You mentioned about other milestones like the 200 years of arrival of Indian origin Tamils as plantation workers. Actually, if you see Sri Lanka's wealth and Sri Lanka's image as a plantation produced country, tea exporting country, is built on their sweat and hard work. So they have made tremendous contribution not only to Sri Lanka's economy, but in various walks of life, society, education, bureaucracy, even political leadership. So India recognized this many years ago, decades ago, and in the recent past, we have come up with fresh initiatives. Honorable Finance Minister, when she visited Sri Lanka, then there were fresh initiatives announced. When the Prime Minister Shri Modi had come, he had announced 10,000 houses, additional houses beyond what we had already done in the plantation segment. I'm very happy that the foundation stone of that project was laid during the Finance Minister's visit. It required reviewing the costs because of various disruptions and other economic factors. But we were able to do that, and now that project will be there. Similarly, in the field of health and education, there are a number of new initiatives which have been announced, and you will see them roll out in the coming weeks and months. In terms of Eastern Province also, during the visit of during the visit of President Vikram Singhe, we were able to come up with a package for the Eastern Province, similarly focused on the developmental cooperation. So essentially, for joint commemoration, there was, of course, we have launched a logo, joint logo to commemorate 75 years of diplomatic relations. But this is the time when we have to look at transforming our economic partnership. And that will be the biggest commemoration if we can add some of those elements that we spoke about, the elements of connectivity, the big ideas. If we can convert them quickly, I think that will be a true tribute to the potential of our people. I must also add that not only 200 years of the IoT are being commemorated, but the Office of the Assistant High Commission of India in Kandy, which was during the colonial times known as the Office of the Agent of India, which used to look after the estate workers related matters, has this year completed 100 years. And that is perhaps the oldest Indian diplomatic representation anywhere in the world. That speaks about India's commitment to the people of Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much, High Commissioner sir, for speaking to us. As you demit your office, we wish you best for your future endeavors, sir.
Thank you very much, and in advance, my season's greetings and good wishes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You were listening to an exclusive interview with outgoing Indian envoy to Sri Lanka, Gopal Baglay, on India-Sri Lanka relations. The interviewer was Dr. Ahmed Faruqi, Akashvani correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on a mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on a YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.